Ladies and gentlemen, I want to draw your attention to the line of ships at the top. In each game of World of Warships Legends, there are 18 ships, 9 on either side, but in this particular match, featuring the legendary tier British destroyer HMS Daring, there are 12 IJN ships spread out across both teams. These 12 IJN ships are composed of a combination of only, 4 ships. There are only 4 legendary tier IJN ships in the game right now. They are Yamato, Shimakaze, Yoshino, and Hakuryu. 2 out of those 4 ships are difficult to get. I think 1 is impossible. The Yoshino is not obtainable today. It was a special ship that you got as a reward, I think, last year for Christmas or something. And then in order to get the Hakuryu, you have to spend 30 million credits in order to unlock the Bureau project and then spend like 3 months completing that. And even if you want the Shimakaze or the Yamato, those also have Bureau projects, so you got to spend 3 months completing those. So these ships are not easy to obtain. They are end-game content. And yet, there are missions in the store centered around the new collections mechanic. Missions that require you to play only legendary tier IJN ships and get 75 ribbons in them. They can either be sinkings, incapacitations, floods, or fires. So as a result, the legendary tier has been invaded by the Imperial Japanese Navy, and the results are not great for the gameplay. Because of the oversaturation of the same ships, of the same classes in the same nation, the quality of gameplay at this tier has deteriorated further than I ever thought possible. In this particular game, even the CVs are IJN. There's 2 Hakuryus, 1 on either team. And we're playing the Daring because we recognized that all the IJN ships were out in force, and we wanted something to counter all the Shimakazes. One Shimakaze so far is, of course, deceased on the enemy team because, of course, they are. Nobody's actually playing these IJN ships to win the games. They're playing them to get the ribbons. And, well, that doesn't result in great gameplay. If you can't tell, I really despise these kind of missions from wargaming that incentivize you to play only one particular type of ship in order to obtain one particular thing, in this case ribbons, which really have nothing whatsoever to do with winning the game. It makes for poor gameplay. So what do you do in order to combat that? What is the antidote? Well, I would suggest to you that one such antidote is HMS Daring, which I think arguably is one of, if not the best destroyer at legendary tier right now. It has stiff competition, of course. The Gearing and the Khabarovsk are also very good. I don't think the Shimakaze these days is as good as some people seem to think it is, but anyway, the Daring has something going for it that's really going to help us out in this game. It is, I think, the only destroyer at legendary tier that has any kind of access to meaningful counterplay against aircraft carriers. And the counterplay comes down to the British smokescreens. The British smokescreens are, of course, unique in this game. British destroyers and even some cruisers get a large number of smokescreen charges. Of course, in this case, we have 6. The smoke screens don't last very long, I think 45 seconds, but they also reload very quickly. And because you have so many of them, you can afford to burn a smoke screen here or there in order to prevent yourself from being spotted by the aircraft carrier, which of course is the aircraft carrier's main power when it comes to countering literally everything. CVs break the spotting mechanics in this game. These are mechanics that people take for granted, and I don't think they think about them very much, but they are fundamental to how this game works. If you are not spotted, you cannot be shot, therefore you cannot be damaged. But the CV basically has infinite long-duration radar in the sense that it can fly its planes anywhere across the map at very high speeds and simply hover them over a ship in order to keep the ship spotted, at which point its teammates can benefit from the spotting and shoot and damage the ship. And that is very bad for destroyers. Unless you're a British destroyer, where you can deploy a smokescreen and hide in it from the CV so that you can't be spotted. That's going to come in handy. But as far as how this game is going right now, my team's deployment is absolutely abysmal. They're concentrated by the cap where we spawned, the Delta cap. They have managed to take Charlie, and they took it before the enemy team flipped Bravo here. But I am the only ship on the Bravo flank at all. And I'm fighting this Yamato, which is kind of bad for the Yamato. He's, for whatever reason, choosing to push into my torpedoes. We've already hit him with one torpedo and caused a flood. Smoking up now, using our very first smoke screen in order to try to light a fire. And it looks like we've got 2 more torpedoes that are set to hit the Yamato. There's a fire, so that's permanent. And one of these torpedoes is going to catch him right on the bow, it looks like. So that might cause flooding. No, in fact, that torpedo misses, and we hit him in the torpedo belt. So the torpedoes don't do very good damage at all. The Yamato has excellent torpedo damage reduction, and in any case, he is continuing to pursue us, and we can see on the minimap the outline of 2 more battleships pushing toward the Bravo cap. So we're not going to push into these guys. There's no reason for us to do it. We don't want to die in pursuit of this cap, nor do we want to lose a lot of HP to this Yamato. So we're sailing away from him, we're outside of his detectability range, or rather our detectability range, and he continues to pursue us. This is not really where you want to be in a battleship. Generally speaking, you don't want to be pushing into a destroyer that can torpedo you. And of course, the British destroyers have the unique ability to single launch their torpedoes in order to obtain maximum accuracy, or maximum inaccuracy, depending on how well you line up torpedo salvos. In any case, the Yamato continues to go forward, we continue to retreat. The friendly CV is actually right behind us, and I can't imagine that he's not spotted by the Yamato right now. The legendary CVs have huge detectability ranges, so I'm kind of worried about this Yamato destroying the CV. But we've done already 70,000 damage to him ourselves, and counting. We've got another flood on his bow, which he was able to DCP. So we're going to follow that up with the Daring's excellent guns for another fire, and that one is permanent. Plus, our torpedoes are staggered at this point. We've done one launcher and then another, so the next one is right off cooldown. This should be good enough to confuse the Yamato. He's now pushing forward. He's got to deal with the aircraft carrier dropping him, and he's got to try to dodge these torpedoes. We can see now that he definitely has spotted the CV. He's got his guns aimed that way, and he just shot. And as such, he seems to be a little bit tunnel-visioned, and we've got some battleships that have access to his broadside. He's pushed in far too far, and he goes down as our first kill of the game. Meanwhile, the enemy team has lost both of its destroyers, which are Shimikazes. We've lost our other destroyer, which is a Shimikaze, and so I am the only destroyer left alive in this game as a Daring. This is why I've picked the Daring. Like I think I said it earlier in the video, people are not taking out these IJN ships to win. They are especially not taking out Shimikazes to win. They never have been doing that, of course. Shimikaze is infamously, in my opinion, the most poorly played destroyer in this entire game, and this ain't helping, let's just put it that way. In any case, as the only destroyer left alive, we hold a distinct advantage for our team, one that we must not throw away. The last 3 remaining battleships are all in the center of the map here. There's a Maine, the Yamato, and something else. They're all pushing toward the Charlie cap, and the rest of my team is also concentrated between Charlie and Bravo. Ship count is even, and the point situation is, well, it was even until the Maine took out our Pommern. Now the enemy team is ahead of us on points, but at the same time, this cap here, Bravo, is completely free. We'll be able to slip in and hopefully secure it for our team without any troubles. The only thing that could stop us is, of course, the aircraft carrier. But we do have 4 charges of the smokescreen left, and the Yamato, well, he doesn't want to stick around. He wants to get away from the cap, unlike his teammate, which so inadvisedly pushed into us. Is that a word? I don't know. In any case, we did light a fire on the Yamato. He doesn't have his guns pointed this way, so we're not too worried. And we continue to drop spot as we put ourselves behind these islands. So there's another fire on the Yamato. This one's permanent. We decide we are going to smoke up at this point, just in case the Yamato wants to turn his guns or anybody else wants to shoot at us. And we are a little bit late on that. Somebody manages to get a hit. I suspect it was probably the Maine out there, or perhaps the other battleship. But Yamato, well, he's on pretty low health now, and we've switched to the AP. Daring's AP is phenomenal, by the way. I'm pretty sure it has improved penetration angles, and anytime you can shoot it, you really should. The HE is mostly just for starting fires. So we take down the Yamato as our second kill of the game. Enemy team is still ahead of us on points right now, and there's only a cruiser and an aircraft carrier left. The enemy team has 2 battleships, a cruiser, and the CV. Luckily, we are only 14 seconds away from taking the Bravo cap. As the enemy enters Charlie, we're going to want to secure this cap so that we maintain a 2-cap hold, because the enemy team is also going to have 2 caps, and if they have more caps than us, then obviously they're going to get more points. But the Yamato is on low health, low enough health that we feel very good about opening up on him from a distance of 10 kilometers as we push in. Another great thing about the Daring is that it has god-tier maneuverability, so even if this Yamato were to turn his guns and shoot at us, there's a good chance that this far away we would be able to maneuver in such a way as to avoid the shells. But we're not going to have to do that. The Yamato is focused on something else, and he's focused on nothing now except going back to port, because he's gone down as our 3rd kill of the game. CV is flying his planes around us. We've got the main inside of the Charlie cap, but note that after we took down the Yamato, we are now 10 points ahead of the enemy team. So it doesn't matter if the main is able to secure the Charlie cap, so long as I don't die, and so long as the friendly CV remains floating. The only hope the enemy team has of winning now, with our 10-point lead, is they have to sink us, or they have to get their ships into either Delta or Bravo and contest that. They don't even have to flip it, they just have to stop us accruing points from it. Unhappily for them, the remaining cruiser was somewhere spotted to the west of the, the Charlie cap, and the main is square inside of the Charlie cap. Neither of them are going to be able to reach either Bravo or Delta in less than 3 minutes, not with me sitting in the middle of the map. I would, of course, try to impede their progress toward the caps, and they would have to deal with me. So we basically already won the game. We just need to bring it home by not sinking. And one good thing that can be said about our own CV is that he's taken his aircraft carrier as far away from as possible from both the main and the last remaining cruiser, which is, surprise, surprise, a Yoshino. He's to the east of the Bravo cap, behind some islands, so even if the enemy CV is able to spot him, I don't know that the main or the Yoshino would actually be able to shoot at him. And plus, I'm driving the main further and further away from the CV all the time by lighting some fires on him. Our smoke screen is about to run out, and the enemy CV is tunnel visioned on me. Of course, we've managed to keep all of our HP. This is one thing to keep in mind with destroyers. I think in my situation, a lot of destroyer players would probably have more aggressively gone into the Bravo cap and tried to deal with the Yamato and the other 2 battleships coming in, and maybe you would have succeeded, maybe you would have been able to torp them to death, but there's a CV flying around, good chance you would have been spotted and lost a lot of your HP. But because we weren't spotted by the CV, and because we played carefully in the beginning, we've kept all of our hit points, which allows us to be a little bit riskier here near the end of the game. The CV is spotting us. We've still got 2 smoke screens left. We're deploying 1 so that the Yoshino cannot see us. And we've got our AA going to hopefully take down the CV's planes. The Daring's AA is not what you would call great. We've only managed to shoot down 2 planes this game, so we absolutely really cannot defend ourselves from aircraft in any meaningful way, except in hiding in our smoke screen. That really is the only counterplay versus CVs. You have to put yourself in a smoke screen so they can't see you. And so that's what we're doing. There's less than 1 minute left to go in the game. We're still ahead by 10 points. So as long as we can survive for the next 40 seconds, we've got the win in the bag. The Daring really, really is a great destroyer. It's very versatile. Its torpedoes are excellent. Its guns are phenomenal. The smoke screens it has are probably the best destroyer smoke screens in the entire game, next to the Pan-Asian ones. Their utility is just unrivaled by any other nation's smoke screen, and they are very, very helpful when it comes to actually countering CVs in a meaningful way. AA just doesn't cut it, even on things like the Friesland. I don't think the Friesland would even have been as good in this situation because it only has the American smokescreen. So its AA could shoot down planes, I guess, but that's not going to stop it being spotted like a smokescreen is. So the Daring, excellent destroyer. I only finished the Bureau project for it recently, and I'm glad to have it back in my fleet. I recommend taking it out if you are as tired of the IJN invasion as I am. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.